Mammography is one of the best screening tools to find breast cancer.
Breast cancer may not be preventable, but you can survive it through early detection. If you're a mother or grandmother, sister or best friend, aunt or cousin,
we encourage you to know your risk, make healthy lifestyle choices, and to know what's normal for your body.
Get screened. Get your mammogram annually.
We did!
Shantytown residents left homeless after a fire rips through their community. A man shot and killed in Fox Hill. How the public and the opposition leader feel about crime. And a major police promotions exercise completed. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, a day after some of their neighbors were rounded up by immigration officials, residents of a shanty town lost everything in a fire this morning. The blaze flattened several structures off Fire Trail Road, some of which were under construction. NB12 was on the scene as the flames were doused. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Another shanty town destroyed today, but this one not demolished by the government. Nearby residents say a lot of these homes were actually under construction. That is, until the entire thing went up in flames. Some 8 homes were destroyed this morning as fire tore through a shanty town just off Fire Trail Road. When NB12 arrived on the scene, firefighters were still battling the blaze as it ripped through the wooden structures. Head of the Fire Division, Superintendent Walter Evans, said the fire started around 10:40 a.m.
And when officers arrived on the scene minutes later, they discovered that there were several wooden structures which were on blaze just off Fire Trail Road through a track road. And we realized that upon our arrival that there were several wooden structures that were ablaze. At this point, we have received some information that individuals may have resided in 1 or 2 of those structures, but we cannot confirm that number at this time, and we're still trying to ascertain that information.
He said at this moment he can't say whether arson is believed to be the cause. Robert Johnson lives just next to the shanty town where many of the other homes are still standing. Some of these homes, he said, were just being built. He added that within 45 minutes of seeing the first cloud of smoke, everything was gone.
1 or 2, actually 3 people were living in the further corner, but yeah, as you can see, there was some wood over there. They're just getting ready to build.
So no one lived in these right here that burned down?
Yeah, man, somebody living, see the bed and see the chairs and stuff. People was living in this.
You know where the residents ran to?
I have no idea. But I told you, by the time I came out the shower, everybody was gone. Who knows, they probably might have been to work and was not.
Now it appears as though somebody was trying to dig a cesspit here. We don't know where those residents ran off to, but we understand there were 3 or 4 of them that occupied these homes. A government report on shanty towns released last year found that there were at least 15 of these communities in New Providence. The government has recently been destroying them because of the health risks they pose. Alexander Jocelyn was irate on the scene today because his cousin had just moved into the shanty town last Friday. In addition, he claims he had just paid his landlord $1,000 for rent yesterday. But to make matters worse, he says his cousin's wife and children were taken during an immigration roundup yesterday.
So we friends, come on, don't matter how people live. That's the situation. So you can't blame people for how you living. So they went that for $1,000. That piece properly.
Your cousin rented that for $1,000?
Yeah, $1,000, that's he tell me. So house come yesterday morning, immigration pick up all the people who illegally. Yes, yesterday morning. So this morning, there's a fire. That's wrong. We are people.
So where's his wife and his children?
Wife and children get catch yesterday morning.
Oh, so they got picked up by immigration?
Yes. So this morning, that's a fire. That's wrong. So they just build that, they didn't build that illegally. Maybe they don't have a permit to build that. So owner of this property, they went that from the owner.
So who did they rent the property from?
I know that's same person who got house up there. They went that.
Jocelyn says his cousin will now have to find somewhere to live, and he doubts he will get his $1,000 back. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
A Fox Hill man was gunned down last night, forcing police to open their second murder investigation in less than 24 hours. This latest victim, we understand, was a 38-year-old man of Kelly Lane. Last night around 9:10, police say they were called to the area after residents reported hearing gunshots being fired. Officers found the victim suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the upper body. At the scene, now Chief Superintendent of Police Paul Roll explained how police believe the attack unfolded.
Our preliminary investigation tells us that this male was riding his bicycle north along Adley Street when two males emerged from the eastern side of the road, one of them produced a handgun and began discharging shots at him, and they struck him, as I said, to his upper body, fatally wounding him here on this scene.
Roll says the assailants in this case escaped on foot, but police have identified a person of interest. They want to question Jamal Gibson, aka Eggy of Armbruster Street, Fox Hill, about last night's shooting, as well as the murder of Ricardo Moss at Gray's Terrace back on September 27th. On the scene, the victim's mother became so overcome with grief at the death of her first child. She collapsed just as the hearse pulled off with the body. Now, Roll would not confirm or deny reports that the brother of last night's victim was recently charged with murder or that this crime may have been an act of retaliation. He also dismissed claims the Fox Hill area has simply become a hotbed for crime.
I don't share that view. I don't share the view that Fox Hill is a crime-ridden area. Step Street either. I don't consider it to be a crime-ridden area. This area has been pretty quiet as other areas. Every now and then we have flare-ups in different area that is usually because of something else that is going on. What we seek to do is to get to the bottom of what is the underlying issue that ultimately ends in death.
Well, that crime came just hours after 44-year-old Andre Cartwright was shot to death defending his family from three people who broke into his home. Police are still searching for one suspect, 18-year-old Kevin Andrews, but Roll confirmed police are making progress and are now convinced the three suspects in that incident are also linked to a home invasion and robbery that occurred just an hour before Cartwright's death.
That investigation is in high gear. You know, we have two persons in custody. It made it known that the suspect that was shot, he is suspect in that, and I'm to provide for you some information on the other young man that I had revealed some information on this morning. We are satisfied that these are the same suspects in regard to the home invasion that occurred in the West Bay Street earlier during the evening.
Roll also explained why a police advisory wasn't issued about people going around purporting to be police officers.
I saw some information circulating, and I addressed that already in the media and indicating to the media that I was not aware. Okay, and I maintain that position that I'm not aware. Last night is the first I've heard it. So maybe we need to look at who put it out.
With ongoing crime in New Providence, residents are left with mixed feelings about their safety in their own communities. Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis also spoke up and expressed concerns about the pace at which government is moving to solve these problems. Our Simone Davis spoke with a few residents today and filed this report.
Some residents say even with continuous crime, they are not scared to be in their neighborhoods, while others say they fear that they will soon become victims. However, they all agree that the government does need to work harder to crack down on crime.
Very few people could feel safe with these conditions. Crime is very rampant in the nation from a small sector of our community. And of course, we have a nation under what you call strife on land and sea. We are under siege. So we must address this very quickly. We must have some very practical and sound and healthy response to it.
One resident said he thinks the government is aware of what needs to be done to limit crime in the Bahamas, but is not addressing it.
I feel safe because, I put all my trust in God and I don't really focus on what's going on around me because the Bible speaks about these things. But the crime rate now is such an alarming rate now. We got to do something about it. The government got to think of new strategies and really go to the people, to ask them questions how to really deal with this matter. I mean, they really know what's the core of the matter, but they really not addressing it.
Another said he's worried about what tourists see and experience while visiting the Bahamas and witnessing these criminal activities.
I work in the whole day business, and I feel that if things like that happen, what happened to the tourists who have been hearing these things? So right now it ain't safe now, okay? Because to me, sometimes sleeping in your house in the nighttime, you ain't safe. Don't care where you go, you ain't safe.
Harriet Roberts is a Fox Hill resident and says although a lot of crime happens in her community, she still feels safe in her home. She says she thinks the government should implement stiffer penalties as a way to limit crime.
Yeah, I still feel safe in my home because I think this crime is a related thing. That's just that the young folks cannot give up on whatever the situation is. They're just out to kill because they're not giving up. They need to put them in prison, and if they get them and they try them and they're found guilty, they need to start doing something, hanging or send them for life in prison or whatever the situation is going to be.
Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says he finds it baffling that the government is unable to get a grip on crime. Responding to a statement made by the Minister of National Security, Dr. Bernard Nottage, that the government will be able to crack down on crime soon, Minnis says he disagrees because it seems as though the law enforcers and ministers are not on the same page. When asked what he suggests should be done when it comes to crime, he said laws need to be better enforced. He says if the FNM becomes the next government in power, law enforcement would be the top priority.
We need laws to be enforced, regardless to how small or minuscule the crime or the event may be. We cannot have two sets of laws. You cannot have one set for the haves and another set for the have-nots. If we enforce our laws, which should be done, then we will see a paradigm shift in this country. I am prepared to enforce our laws.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
Well, the Ministry of Health released a statement today confirming a man on a charter flight from the United States to the Bahamas who was displaying possible Ebola symptoms was evaluated before being cleared to proceed to his destination. The government noted it was determined he did not travel to an Ebola-infected area or come into contact with anyone who may have. The statement, titled Ebola virus disease, reads, "It has been reported to the Ministry of Health today that a traveler who was being transported to the Bahamas via a charter aircraft from Tennessee, USA, displayed symptoms of vomiting and diarrhea. As per the National Ebola Preparedness Protocol, the aircraft was diverted to the designated location. A health evaluation team was transported to the aircraft and evaluated the patient. It was determined the patient did not travel to an Ebola-affected area, nor had any contact with anyone who had traveled to an Ebola-affected area. There were no other passengers with any signs of illness upon evaluation. As there was no determined threat to the public's health, clearance was provided for the aircraft to proceed to its destination." The statement came after reports of a possible Ebola case in the Bahamas spread on social media.